Today, I'm very happy to introduce Stella Márta Sági, an immunologist, molecular biologist, and PhD student at the Department of Physiology at Semmelweis University. Alongside her research, she's actively involved in mentorship and science communication, with a real passion for making science more accessible and inspiring for younger generations. She's also a TV host of TV2's Innovator program, and she serves as Hungary's National Science Ambassador. Hi, Stella. Thank you so much for being here today. It's so lovely to see you. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your story? Why science? Was there any particular moment or situation that made you realize you want to do science?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me into this show. I think for me, it wasn't like a particular moment in which I decided that I want to do science or I want to be a scientist. It was a long process. When I was younger, I had different ideas. I really loved, for example, literature. I wrote a lot of poems. So I was interested in literature, language itself, and I also wanted to be archaeologist. So that's a big jump. I had a lot of questions. My family is all about medical stuff. We have a lot of doctors and also researchers in our family. So I was also surrounded by that growing up. But I think they kind of let me be, which is, I think, a good way to let your child decide what do they want to be. And I was also interested in science while growing up. When my grandmother, who is a dentist, wrote her PhD, I remember that it was written that I thank my grandchild, Stella, who is, despite being 8 years old, showed such an interest in science that she also encouraged me. And
That's so sweet.
yes, and she recently showed me this, and I didn't even remember. And I was like, oh my God, this is how young people can be interested in science as well. I was always interested in a lot of things. And as I mentioned, I didn't really specifically want to be a scientist. I think the turning point came around high school when, you have to decide which university you want to go to. And I decided to go to the University of Szeged, because that's where I'm from, basically. And I enrolled into the bachelor's biology program. And to be honest, I didn't really like the first year, because I think it's common in university programs that the first year or first two are just basically textbooks after textbooks, and you just learn.
Yeah.
Because of course you need a good foundation for your work and to know where you want to go further in life, which field you want to choose. But I didn't really like, and I was thinking about going to maybe doing like an MD, like a medical degree, or I also was interested in physics. So I was kind of thinking that after the first year, I want to switch. And then came my godmother, who is also a researcher. She's my mother's sister. And she was like, okay, I know that this is very boring in the beginning, but just go for like a summer trainee program and just take a look. If you don't like it, then enroll to another program. So I got into the dermatology research, or the dermatology department of Szeged. And kind of on the first day, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Because I experienced the research, which is the research. So not just the textbooks, but how it goes, how you go from a hypothesis into researching that specific question or idea. And that's what really captured me. And that's kind of how immunology came to my mind, because I'm an immunologist. And now I also research immunological topics.
Right.
And it was kind of like love at first sight, to be honest. So that's quite the journey I had. So it was not just one specific moment. It was like a long journey,
That's
basically.
such an interesting story. And by the way, what are you studying right now?
I'm a PhD student at Semmelweis University. I am a PhD student of the physiology department, and inside the department, I work at the lymphatic research group led by Dr. Zoltán Jakus.
And what do you guys focus on mostly? But if possible, in simple terms.
Yes. So basically, as I mentioned, I'm an immunologist. What we do is I have 3 projects that I'm doing right now, but the main focus on all 3 of them is either how the immune system works in a healthy way,
Uh-huh.
what are the must to function in a balanced way, how we can teach the immune system to, for example, prevent viral infections or anything like that. And also the other main focus of my research is if something pathological happens, like in a disease, how we can return it or manage it to go into a better equalized way, so we can prevent diseases or just manage basically them, or even cure diseases.
And is there such a thing as a typical workday for you?
No, not really. And that's exactly what I love about being a scientist, because I think when I was growing up, I knew that I don't really want to live my life in an office where every day is the same. No shame to office workers. It's just not my cup of tea. So I couldn't really have the same days repeated each other. And this is a very good thing about being a researcher, that sometimes I have to teach physiology as well in the university. Sometimes I go to conferences. Sometimes I came here, for example, to talk about different topics. Usually I do, experiments. I take care of undergraduate students who are also interested in going into research, and I try to encourage them, prepare them for competitions, for example. I analyze my data. I try to, research. I read a lot. That's like a very basic fundamental thing about research. Then you need to know a lot of about your topic and field. Expand your knowledge about a lot of things, about for example, for me, about the immune system, or about like how the whole body works. So I have a lot of different roles, and I really love it that not every day is the same. Every day is not the same.
And did you have any challenges during this journey?
I think challenges are a basic thing in research, and it's not just the past tense. So every day we do, even older senior people senior researchers have challenges, because sometimes you think one process goes in one way, but the exact opposite happens. So and it's kind of like in the beginning I felt these things as a disappointment, that I wasn't thinking right, or I maybe I screwed up an experiment, or it's my fault. But that's biology, that's life. And if you have an idea and another conclusion comes out, you can rethink everything, basically. And I think what young researchers really have to focus on is how to get over these so-called failures, which I don't think there are failures. I think these are more like learning lessons, how you can shift your focus, think outside the box. So I think that's one of the hardest challenges of being a scientist, for sure.
I love that perspective, looking at so-called failures as learning moments. So really there are no failures. You either succeed or you learn. So basically you succeed either way.
Yes.
So
There is a saying that you only fail if you don't stand up, and I really believe in that.
That's true.
That's the only way you can fail, if you don't move on and go for it.
And as someone who works in research and specifically works with the immunity and the immune system, what have been some of the misconceptions that you have encountered that people may have either about their bodies or the immune system, or maybe about science or scientists in general?
The immunology as like a whole concept and research field is quite new. So it's not that not as old as, for example, genetics or physiology. It's a bit new. It's a bit of a newer chapter in biology, and there are a lot of questions, a lot of diseases which we try to find the reasons that the diseases are developed or how we can fix these. And these diseases can take a toll on people, and which is, of course, these some of the diseases can be very well tolerated. They are a lot of good medical stuff or like practices which can be applied to different diseases, but in some cases people are tired, and they sometimes, as I feel, blame sometimes the scientists and the medical doctors or nurses, or like the whole big pharma conspiracy theory that this is against them and they just want money. And I don't think that this is a good way of thinking, because, for example, I wanted to become a researcher because I wanted to help people. And other researchers or medical workers that I've spoken with don't care about money. They just want to help people. And somehow there was, I think, a miscommunication or misinformation spreading, where people got this idea that big pharma rules everything, which is not true, because then it would be true, then I would have a yacht and a Porsche by the age of I am right now. This is not the case. I know people are frustrated. A lot of steps have been made by the medical field and the biology researchers to develop good ways to solve these diseases, but we are still working. Science is about finding solutions. Science is changing every day. So today we might have a statement, but tomorrow there might be a new article which completely destroys or challenges that view. And this is what brings us, as I think, a society further to have a kind of a critical thinking. And that's what I'm trying to encourage to, of course, have your own thoughts. Never believe exactly. If you see something, go for it, search for it, but these researches should be provided by a real platform, so or a real researcher or a real medical person that you listen to.
And how can people know that, this is a real scientist or a real medical person? What should they look out for to convince themselves that, yeah, this is the person I can trust?
Yes, this is a very hard question, to be honest, and I don't know if I can provide the black or white answer for that, because recently, which is, I think, a very good thing, that scientists are becoming like influencers, or they are pushing out content about different topics: physics, biology, chemistry, anything. And one of my friends asked, why is it that a lot of math students or researchers, especially now, it's a big wave in Hungary. In like different countries, I've seen this trend before, like 5 years ago, but it arrived here in Hungary in the recent years. And I think it's a good thing, because sometimes misinformation can spread so easily, and it's really hard to find the ones that are truly dedicated to push out the true informations and the research backed contents. I think a good way to search for a trustable person of science is, for example, that if I used to, I'm not really doing it nowadays, but when I did a few videos, I also put out which articles did I use to further deepen my knowledge about a certain topic. They can search for it and see that it's really a published data set. I think it's easier to find a good person to rely on if they have an introduction. I usually say that I'm a biologist or like an immunologist and I'm a researcher. So I think that also helps to ground that I'm not just someone who sits at home and just Googles things. And if someone grows their platform, more and more people come in. And maybe that's also a sign of trustability and that this person can communicate scientific things easily as well. So I think these.
And you actually mentioned now, science influencers or medfluencers. You yourself, you are involved in science communication quite a bit, and you have a channel, and you also do it in many other ways as well. How did you get into, this part of science, the science communication part?
It was also a long process as well as getting into research in itself. Everything started way back during COVID because of two things. As a lot of my friends know that what I'm doing, what I used to study, I used to go to uni back then, and they knew what I'm doing and what I'm studying, and they had a lot of questions about basically the whole, what's this virus, what can we know about, and also about the mRNA platform. And I think during that period of time, what I've seen is that the communication about the whole virus and the whole platform, it was not very good, in my opinion. I've also been to Katalin Karikó's, a few of Katalin Karikó's presentations, and she also mentioned that she didn't know how to explain basically this technology in simple terms. And that's why probably a lot of people had doubts, because they had no idea that she had years and tens of years of research. She was denied in a lot of laboratories because of this, because nobody's seen the potential behind this technology. mRNA was discovered, by the way, in 1961, and after that, in a few years, they started to think in a way that maybe mRNA can be used in different therapies. But they had a lot of backfires in early, or like limitations, I would say, not backfires, limitations in the development of early mRNA technology. For example, the degradation of the mRNA, because it degraded so quickly that it couldn't really reach the biological effect that they aimed to. And they needed, to develop this technology, they needed the changes that Katalin Karikó and Drew Weissman did, as well as the lipid nanoparticle encapsulation, which was made by another Hungarian person called Norbert Pardy, who was Katalin Karikó's PhD student. So it was years of work. And I think it was communicated in a way that we just got it somewhere.
Just magically appeared out of nowhere from our pockets.
Yeah, somewhere. It's good, that's fine. Trust us. And so they didn't really explain the whole I mean, of course, you can't really explain the whole process for someone. And I think it's not just true. It's not only true for researchers, but in every field of work, that, for example, if your dishwasher is broken, you call out a person who is specifically doing these type of things, and the person comes out and starts to explain that this tube is not working, and you don't understand anything because the person explains what's wrong, but in their own language. And this is the same thing in science, because we usually go to conferences, we talk with people who are in research as well, and they kind of know the whole concept that we are in. And talking to another person who doesn't really know about research. They just have these big eyes and have no idea what's going on. And this is something that I think in the future a lot of researchers, scientists, not just in biology, physics, chemistry, in every field, they need to learn how to communicate their achievements, their findings to the public, so we can have a trust in science again. Because what I've seen is that a lot of people lost the faith in science in these recent years. And that's what I want to get back to, because that was your original question, that I want to make people ask questions about any, I mean, they can ask questions about the immunology from me, but about anything. So ask questions, because thinking and critical thinking, I think, is very important to get our society and as a human species to get us further. Because back in the days, we had fundamental ideas how the world works, and there were people who were asking like, oh, maybe it's not that. And that's why I think what's really important to think. And if you don't have the abilities, for example, when I seen the mRNA technology, I was also surprised. Wow, I never heard about this. And I'm learning immunology I've been learning immunology for like, I think 3 years or 4 when I heard that.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I never heard about this technology. What's that? And personally, because I'm a researcher, I know where to find articles. I can read these articles, because even though it's in English, there are like certain words which a person who's not working in research doesn't know what that means. But I can understand these words. I can understand these researches. I can conclude that what this whole platform is about. And sometimes I think these good innovations are only for the researchers. And that's where I think everything went wrong with the mRNA platform, that there wasn't a person who could very good specifically communicate in a lot of countries what's this about. And you don't need to be afraid, because this can be used in so many fields. And there are so many researches backing up the potential good benefits and workings of this platform. Vaccines are the most researched technologies in the medical biology. So I was thinking that maybe, since I like to answer the questions of my friends, I can also maybe help other people understand immunology, because I always had a lot of questions asked by my friends. And first I started like a faceless channel, because I didn't really have the confidence to, I don't know, sit in front of a camera. And I did it, but it wasn't really focused on immunology itself. It was mostly like fun facts about the whole body. And after, like in 2025, so last year, there came like a big project, the Science Ambassador program, and which focused on having like young researchers talking about science and going to high schools and to do these presentations. And I enrolled into that program, and I kind of because I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone, because I felt the urge to help people as well, not only with my research but with my knowledge, because I've seen like there is a gap that might need to be filled in Hungary. And I wanted to create like a channel where people can ask. So I got the courage from the ambassador program, and then I started to build my own channel, and I have a lot of very positive feedbacks, and it's so good, because yesterday I posted a video about CAR T cell therapy, and today one of my friends texted me that her friend showed me sent her my video, and she was like, oh, that's my friend. And the girl who sent her this was like, this is so good, because it's not, sorry for saying it, just not bullshitting. Sorry for the strong word, but that's what she wrote. And it's clear. And that's my goal, to have a channel where I can explain very hard or like big concepts, hardly understandable concepts to people, and then they can ask me things. So,
And this was the Hungarian National Science Ambassador program that kind of pushed you and gave you the courage towards starting this channel.
Yes, I'm not really a confident person. I can mask that I'm not a confident person, but deep down now I'm not really confident. And I've seen these like being stuck in a place where I started a faceless channel. I already had this faceless channel. I was just talking into a microphone and get these stock videos, and that's how I did it. I got, by the way, like, I don't know, 500 followers from that on TikTok, so it's also fine. But I don't know why. I didn't want to show my face.
Right.
And we had, by the way, there was a very good and complex program, and I think it would help a lot of young scientists as well if something like that would be included in the university program, or they can choose to enroll in a program like this, because I got the confidence to sit, which sounds silly to get the confidence to sit in front of a camera, but for me it was hard.
It doesn't sound silly at all. I think a lot of people get, stage fright and get the camera fright. So I think you're definitely not alone in that. But it is something that, you have to push yourself for some time to get comfortable doing it.
Yes.
And you did it.
Yeah, I mean, with the help, because we had such a good training, by the way, to make us prepared to what, and to kind of, I had a lot of inner reflection during that program, in which I really decided that, okay, I really want to do this, because before that I might had something of being scared or something like that, but then it's completely disappeared, and I decided that I want to do it.
And do you ever feel like there's any tension or conflict of interest or anything like that when it comes to your research career and your science communication career?
It's hard to balance sometimes. So thankfully I have a PI or a boss who is very flexible. He wants his PhD students to, of course, have good data to push out, to do our research, to take care of undergraduate students. But if when I told him that I applied to this program, because of course I told him, because he's kind of my boss, I have to tell him. He was really excited, and he is still excited, because he said that it's a very good thing to do. And I only had, thankfully, good experience with other researchers as well, even senior people who are way above my level in research. So they are laboratory leaders as well, stopped me in like the hallway in the physiology department and telling me that, I just saw your videos, they are so good, and it's really, that's what they tell me, that it's a gut feeling thing. So I think in general, scientists see that this is something that we need to focus on. Unfortunately, scientists are scientists because they don't want to really do these type of things. Not a lot of people have or are extroverted or have these type of, I don't know, goals in life. But what I've seen is that they encourage this. It's hard to balance out everything, and I mean, in a general day-to-day, how to do your schedule. What I find, I mean, it's getting easier for me, is how to explain easily, in simple terms, really hardly understandable processes or technologies. But I'm getting better, so I meant and to be accurate.
Mhm.
That's also a very good thing that I do, is that I also have knowledge in my head, but before I get a concept about what I want to do, is I go to my computer and sometimes research for articles. So there is also a lot of work in it,
Right.
which I think you also understand, because it's so I don't want to push out false data, because
course.
that's what I want to do, to be a good source of information and also updated, so up
Yep.
to date to scientific research as well.
And what about your TV host role?
Mhm.
Because that's something else that you do. How is that different to the other science communication work that you do?
Very different. A main difference between being a TV host and doing my own videos is when I push out a video about, I don't know, to TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, I immediately get the reactions and immediately get the comments.
Yeah.
And basically I can see what they appreciate or what questions do they have. And as a TV host, I don't really have this feedback, to
Right.
be honest, because they can't really message me throughout the TV or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they can search me on the internet if they are interested. Another thing is that on my platforms, I usually push out content about most recently I started this whole immune percek, which is immune minute
Uh-huh.
in English. And I focus on immunology on my channel. I think it started in January, but I shifted focus mainly on immunology. Before that, I did a lot of topics, but now the focus is on immunology. And I try to explain a lot of things, diseases, treatments, how everything works. And in this TV series, Innovator, we go to Hungarian researchers, which are in different, very different fields. Sometimes what we go to a cancer research group, or like not even biology related, physics related topics. So it differs, but I really enjoy it as well, because I can see what really good researchers are going on in Hungary. So it's different, but I really enjoy both. And I also enjoy doing lectures to young children, because that's also a big part of this whole science communication topic for me, is to encourage young people, to go into research or basically medical field, to go for it and to encourage them.
And do you see a lot of interest in science in the younger population?
Before I started science communications, if you would ask that question before I started this whole communication, I would say no. But now I would say it's good, but it could be better, because a lot of young people don't really know what research is about. They just see some in a movie, like these cut scenes where they pipe at something, and that's all. And they have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, but they are interested. Where I came from, in both the high school and before that, the primary, we had a lot of chances to enroll scientific programs if we were interested. But a lot of young people, and especially I also had this thought that you need to be a genius to be a researcher, which is not true. You just have to have questions. I was a kid who had a lot of questions about anything and everything. And I think if a child has questions and they have the courage, because I think that's another thing, that they don't really have the courage or like the confidence to ask questions.
Yes.
And that's another thing. I think that they do have questions, they just keep it to themselves, and they don't really voice these questions. They don't really ask these questions. Nowadays it's easier to Google it or something like that. But back when I was younger, we didn't really have these chances. But I think they are interested in science as well. We just need to show them that you don't need to be a genius to enroll into these programs. You just need to be, you need to have questions. You need to take your ground and stick with your ideas, and you need to learn how to get over your failures, as we talked about earlier, how to step over these so-called failures or bumps in your journey. And if you're interested, you can achieve many things. I think kids they have so much potential, in my opinion.
That's true. That's true. And do you know if there are any programs in Hungary that maybe support younger, maybe high school children or middle school kids, that encourage them to pursue science, or maybe support really talented students or things of that nature?
Yes. And by the way, when I was in high school, I didn't know anything about these scholarships or anything like that, because it wasn't really pushed out. In like high schools, I think, or I didn't really hear about them. But I would like to mention 3. One is called OTO, which is in Hungarian Országos Innovációs és Tudományos Olimpia. It's basically this national innovation and scientific Olympics. It's kind of translated like that. And it's been here in Hungary for more than 30 years, 35 maybe, or 36. And I never heard of it until last year. And it's basically a really good program for around high school age people if they have an idea. For example, I think it was a girl who created a bandage in which there was medicine. And it was a high schooler's idea. And she had the opportunity to create this idea with this scholarship, because they provide older, more experienced researchers to support their ideas, to work through their ideas. They get money to make their ideas come true, which is amazing in such a young age. As you grow, you kind of lose your creativity. So children, especially in high school, I think have the highest creativity. And this program can capture these brilliant ideas and turn them into reality. And they go to national competitions, and they have first, second, and third places, because they could make their ideas come to life. So that's, I think, an amazing opportunity. If someone wants like a scholarship and but doesn't really have like an idea like that, but wants to go to see how a laboratory or a research life looks like, they can also enroll into Kárpál, which is also a scholarship provided for high school students who can enroll into different research groups and basically come to the laboratory as a high schooler and do real research. And they can also go to competitions, but these competitions are not like the Olympic ones. These are more like knowledge focused, and so it's more like a real life scientific researcher simulation for high schoolers. And so that's Kárpál, and also the Nemzeti Tudós Képző Akadémia, which is also made on similar contents and or context. And they can also, if they are done with high school and enroll into university, they can also still be part of that scholarship and continue their journey as a researcher in both programs. And they can have scholarships, they can have so many opportunities. And I had no idea about these programs. I mean, I think the Nemzeti Tudós Képző is quite new, so that's very new. I think Kárpál is also a bit new, but OTO, the Olympics, was way before, and I had no idea. But now they have so many opportunities to seek out.
That's amazing. It's really great to see that these opportunities exist, because I think you have to capture their attention and their interest young, because if you don't, then you kind of miss that window of opportunity.
Exactly.
And, you mentioned that you work a lot with younger people. What do you think about the role of role models for the younger generations? Do you think it's important? And maybe did you have any personal role models?
I think role models are very important because, for example, if someone comes from a family who's been, I don't know, in law for generations, but a child is interested in science or something else, the role models usually come from family, I think. But if they can find someone who they can look up to in science, maybe they will choose science and they can achieve great things. And to just basically see that, yes, this is a walkable path. I can also go into that direction as I want to. So I think the encouragement of young people is very important. Personally, I had, as I mentioned, in my family, we have a lot of doctors and researchers, and I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of positive women role models in my family. For example, as I mentioned, my godmother is a researcher. She is an amazing woman. She is Dr. Márta Sági, and she achieves so many things in her life. She has a beautiful family. She's been through Japan. She worked in Japan and she achieved so much. And if I always told that if I achieve like the half of what she did, then I will die happily. So, for example, both of my grandmas worked in medical fields. My mom, who is my number one fan, she is a biology and chemistry teacher. So I always had these positive role models, especially in my life. And some people, especially young girls, don't. And these girls can search up, for example, me on the internet. And I also had a message, by the way, in which one of my friends, I think it was like way back, like half a year ago, not way back, but just it wasn't recent, that she has a sister and she will finish high school soon. And she was very interested in going to med school. And my friend told me that ever since she's watching my videos, she's even more sure. And they don't really have researchers, I think, in their family.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do, to get girls and boys as well to look for people who are doing what they are interested in.
That's amazing. And actually, I'm so happy to hear that in your family, you have so many amazing people and so many women who really achieved a lot
Yes,
in,
it's rare.
in the sciences. It is very rare. And, unfortunate as it is, statistics keep showing that the number of women in a variety of STEM fields, not all of them, but in the majority of STEM fields, the numbers are still pretty low. And, the further up the ladder you go, the lower the number gets. Now, from your personal experience, have you noticed anything around you that you think keeps contributing to this fact? And have you seen anything that is changing the situation in the positive direction?
I think we can thank a lot to previous generations. For example, my godmother's generation, who are in their 50s, 60s now, because they paved the way for us, for example, for me. Still, there are a lot of things to do. I think the biology field and the medical field is quite turning into female-dominated fields, but I think physics and chemistry and engineering fields are still quite male-dominated, and mathematics as well. And I've heard a few stories about people in my age, how they, one of the girls who went to engineering program, how she got a bit, I wouldn't say bullied, but she got a few comments from the males in her class. I don't know why it's rooted deeply in the society. Women recently came into universities, and we didn't really always have the opportunity to learn. But since we had the opportunity, I think women showed that we can do anything we want if we are determined enough. Systematically, I think it's a very complex image. I'm seeing, for example, a big and I hope you don't misunderstand me. A big fallout in a woman's career is, of course, having children, which is not. I don't want to sound as I'm anti-child or something like that, but if you go and have a child, you need to, of course, take care of that child. And for example, as a researcher, if you stop working for a year or two while you take care of your child, because that's, of course, a must. And if somebody wants children or a family, go for it. But if you stop working, then the field doesn't stop. So your research field goes further, and you will have 1 or 2 years left behind, which can be hard. Thankfully, we are getting into an age where things are getting easier. You can go still into lab, or you can go work from home and still research your field. So I think things are getting easier. But we still have to do a lot of things. But nowadays, I think it's getting easier as well. Personally, I don't have children, but I will want to have in the future. A good example for me is, again, my godmother, because when she finished her PhD studies, I don't know if from the audience people know that after you finish your PhD, there is a so-called postdoctoral period, which is like 2 years. And people usually go to other countries to do this type of research. And what she did, she already had her first child. And with her first child and her husband, they went to Japan and spent 2 years there. So she could manage that. And I usually call her a boss lady because she is a boss lady. So it's hard, but it's very manageable. But you need to have a strong mind for that, for sure.
And I suppose her husband was quite supportive of
Yes.
this. So I guess that probably made a huge difference as well, because if you don't have a supportive partner or a supportive family, for many women,
Yes.
I think it becomes impossible. And not just because they're not strong enough or not determined enough, but because physically there's only 24 hours in a day, and if you don't have some kind of support, it just becomes physically impossible.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Yes.
But that is amazing. It really makes me very happy, and it really warms my heart.
And I also believe in surrounding yourself with people who don't pull you back. Just, they push you to further into your life and in your career life, basically. So you need a good partner, for sure, and a good friend group or a good family as well to support you, to have a support system, because it's never only one person against the world.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Now, to wrap up for today, do you have any final pearls of wisdom or pieces of advice for young girls or young women who are interested in science and maybe want to go into research but are not sure or a little bit scared, or maybe they are already in it? Do you have anything to tell them?
For younger people, my message is to ask questions and don't wait until you're ready. Go before you feel ready, because you will never be ready. You will never feel ready. You just need to go and ask the questions, do your research, go for scholarships, ask a few people, or even online you can ask people about how I can enroll into programs or get an email address that they can message to. And I think, by the way, I think in not just in women, I think in general, what I've seen in research, people don't really have the confidence to go for a lot of things. And of course, I am myself a person like that. but you need to push your boundaries as well. So for young people, I think is also another message is to push your boundaries. To if you really want to do something, then go for it, because you only live once and life goes by so easily, and you need to grab as many opportunities as you can, I think. And for women in general, is for the older generation is thank you.
Absolutely.
Please, thank you.
Absolutely.
And let's keep on going, I think.
Thank you so much for sharing your amazing journey. Keep up the great work. I love your videos, by the way. Just like people told you, I agree with them. Fantastic videos. Keep doing the fantastic work that you're doing. And I wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you so much.